CEO of the Institute of Economic Affairs, IEA. We also have Professor Marion Mutugi from the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights and Dr. Alphonse Kanga from the National Council of Churches of Kenya. Before we move away from the Adani issue, ladies and gentlemen, I want us to speak about lack of coordination we've seen in government concerning this Adani issue. We've seen, like we mentioned before, Kwame, just today, before the Standing Senate Committee on Energy, the CS of Energy, Opio and I, did say that despite the indictment of Adani in the US, the deal, the Catraco deal, would definitely go through. Then a few hours later, we have the president cancelling it. We've also had the transport CS, Davis Chirchis, tell again in Parliament that the Adani are clean. We've had Raila Odinga, the opposition leader, again say the Adani deal is clean. But then we see after a couple of months and weeks, it's been cancelled. What do you make of that?
Well, I don't think it's we can reach any good conclusion. So the first thing it tells you is that what's the quality of Kenya's due diligence when you're dealing with very high-risk transactions such as this, and some of them are for very long periods, 30 years for the airport, for instance. So it tells you that no good work was done here, right, to be able to find, because at the most you'd have expected somebody to say that we dispute what, for instance, a court in another place has done. But you're saying we are not disputing it, but we are going ahead. In other words, it doesn't matter to us. In my view, the cabinet secretaries who said one thing and then the president said another, I think their professional standing comes to question. And if they are honest men, especially because these are two men, they would have no choice but to ask their boss to relieve them of their duties. Especially because their boss made a very emphatic view that, look, we do not intend to ever support corruption. And if we have counterparties who are trying to flow corruption into our country, we are not going to allow it. So when in the morning they are saying something and their boss is that emphatic about the fact that they're fighting corruption, then they have a different view from their boss and they'd have to defer to him by leaving those jobs. I mean, if they're worth their honesty and their honor. But I doubt that that's what they'll do. But in the whole, it just tells you that they just say stuff because they do not expect to have to take responsibility for whatever they say, or perhaps have an interest in a transaction going on regardless of what consequences it would have for Kenyans. But it's just in the space of less than 12 hours. I mean, that level of, if I may call it contradiction or absence of agreement, just tells you that a good number of the people who sit with the president in cabinet are not helping his image, his credibility, and generating public trust, which this administration needs desperately.
Prof, what do you say?
Thank you. The Constitution places a very high bar on state officers. It says that they should behave in a manner that elicits confidence. Now, Kwame has brought one side of the coin that did they do enough due diligence? But there is also the question, could it be possible that they probably told whoever needed to make the decision, gave them a professional view and it was ignored? Could it be that they are not able to do that? Maybe they are operating in an environment of groupthink where they wait for the boss to talk and then they parrot it. So there are many permutations of what may have happened. But I totally agree that with Kwame that in whatever reason, whatever transpired, somebody must take responsibility. And that responsibility is that who dropped the ball? Who did not do due diligence? Who did not say it? Or who said it and it wasn't heard? They should come out and tell us, like the former AG told us. I give my opinion, it's not taken. He lost his job. But he got another one. So I think it boils down to the question of integrity. And we have a whole chapter on integrity in our Constitution. But we have not been serious about it. So let somebody take responsibility. Or, well, it will just be a different project and a different Adani, and we'll be back to square one. And we will continue with the cycle, and we will continue to lose trust in the government. You know, it must be very, very frustrating. I can imagine a father whose children have lost trust in him, how he would run that home. You know, he talks and they look at him and they say, tell that to the birds. So it must be very frustrating for the presidency and for the government, for the electorate and the citizens to lose trust in them. And really, that's the crux of the matter. What happened?
Daktari, any